Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss the steps of doing research. In that, various steps are there, but in this session we will discuss only two steps, that is, how to define the research problem and how to do the literature review. Other steps, which are how to formulate a hypothesis or how to prepare a research design, how to collect data, how to analyze the same, and how to interpret, will be covered in the next sessions. How to define a research problem. First of all, let us understand what is the research problem. Research problem identifies your destination, that is, what you have to do research on or about. It is the first and most important step in doing the research. The main function of formulating the research problem is to decide what you want to find about. A research problem may take number of forms from simple to complex. The problem determines the subsequent steps which the researcher needs to adopt or to follow while doing or throughout his research journey. The research problem determines the steps. The steps include, first of all, consideration. That is, while selecting your research problem, certain things must be taken into consideration by the research, such as what is his area of interest, what is the magnitude of research he wants to indulge into, what are the measurements of the concepts clear in his mind, what is his level of expertise, what will be the relevance of the research, whether the data will be available easily, and the ethical issues must also be taken into consideration. There are various steps which are to be followed while formulating the research problem, such as, first of all, the researcher needs to identify the broad field or the area in which the researcher wants to pursue the research. The second step is to dissect the broad field into sub areas. Then, from this dissection, the researcher needs to select the most interesting topic. Then he needs to raise the questions relating to the research, and then on that basis he needs to formulate various objectives which he has in his mind to pursue or to achieve while doing his research. Then he need to assess the objectives and get it verified or double check it. As we have seen that first of all the researcher needs to identify the broad area. So, for example, if the broad area chosen for research is human rights, then the researcher needs to dissect the broad area into subfields such as whose human rights he want to do research about, whether it is women, whether it is children, whether it is refugees, whether it is prisoners or disabled persons. Once the subclassification is done, then they further need to classify if they are choosing that they want to, or the researcher is choosing that he wants to pursue his research on human rights relating to women. Then which women he need to identify, whether it is a working woman, whether it is about the rape victims or acid attack victims and so on. If the researcher chooses children to be the research area or relating to their human rights, then which type of children he wants to select, whether the street children, the beggars, the child labor or likewise. If he is choosing refugees, then which refugees, Bangladeshi, Syrian or likewise. The next step will be to review the literature. The literature review is the integral part of research process and it makes valuable contribution at every step. It is a continuous process because this research review or literature review is the beginning of the research. It starts even before selecting the research problem. But as per the steps to be followed in research, it is the second step. So it is a continuous process because it continues till report writing is done. So it has the certain functions such as the research review brings clarity and focus to the research problem. The researcher can identify what research problem he wants to focus upon and pursue his research. It even helps in improvising the methodology of research. The researcher gets clarity as to which methods will be most apt according to the literature he has reviewed. Then, it also helps in broadening the knowledge base of the research, and it also helps in contextualizing the findings of the research. Now, how to review the literature? Review of literature means you have to search the existing literature, such as the books available on the topic of your research, the journals, and the internet. For example, while reviewing the selected literature, some of the things which the researcher need to keep in his mind is that note whether the knowledge which you are reviewing is relevant to the theoretical framework which has been confirmed by you beyond doubt. Then he needs to note the theories put forward, the criticism, and their basis. The next step is to examine to what extent the findings can be generalized and to bring to notice whether there is significant difference of opinion among the different researchers. And finally, he need to ascertain the areas in which little research has been done. The research review helps to develop the theoretical framework, such as general information should be gradually narrowed down to specific. That is, you have to go from universal to specific, and then the researcher needs to develop the conceptual framework. That is, it is the base of research problem. It stems from theoretical framework. It describes the aspects that were selected by the researcher from theoretical framework to become the basis of inquiry. Then the researcher needs to write about the literature which he has reviewed. That is, he needs to identify and describe theories relevant to your research, to the research of the researcher. And then he need to integrate the results from the study with findings of existing literature by confirming or contradicting the literature he has reviewed. What are the benefits of literature review? The literature review enables the researcher to know what kind of data has been used, what methods have been used to obtain the data, and what difficulties the earlier researchers in collecting and analyzing the data have faced. The main purpose of literature review is thus to reveal what has been done and written about the given topic in the past, to map with their limitations the thereto used research techniques, to know the kind of material or data used and the sources. It also helps to appreciate the adequacy of the data used for drawing the conclusions, and it helps to know the central argument advanced and concepts revealed and discussed earlier. The literature review is helpful to acquaint with the patterns of presentation of the arguments and the concepts and relationships established between the arguments and the concepts. It further helps in the light of the earlier studies to find the problems encountered and rephrase with precision the research problems and questions, and to devise appropriate techniques so that the further research process goes on smoothly with the proper process of inquiry.